You're scrolling through Instagram at 2 a.m. Everyone else is asleep, but you can't sleep because there is this feeling you can't shake. Like you're watching your own life happens to someone else. And you might have the job, maybe the relationship, maybe the savings. From the outside, it looks fine, but inside, there is this quiet voice that keeps asking, is this it? Is this all there is? And you keep ignoring it because what are you supposed to do? Blow up your life? Start over? But here is the thing nobody tells you. That voice doesn't go away. It gets quieter, but it doesn't leave. And one day you wake up, whether you're 25, 45, 65, or 18, it depends. And you realize you've been living someone else's idea of success while your own dreams died of neglect. So here is my question for you today. Before we go any further, what is that voice trying to tell you? And how much longer are you going to pretend you can't hear it? Peace and blessing to you. Welcome to the channel. Here, I don't review books for entertainment. I break down powerful ideas from books, psychology, and scriptures, and I translate them into practical actions you can actually live out. Not theory, not motivation, because the world doesn't need more information. It needs people who actually do something with what they know. So today we are going deep into Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. But this isn't about a shepherd finding treasure. This is about you finding the courage to become who you actually are. But before we dive into the video, let me tell you who this teaching is for and who it's not for. This is not for you if you are looking for a quick fix or a hype speech. You want me to tell you everything is fine and you just need to think positive? Or you're satisfied with your life and just watching for entertainment? And this video is for you if you feel stuck, you don't know why you've been ignoring that inner voice and you're ready to listen. You want the truth even if it's uncomfortable. You're willing to actually do the work, not just consume content. If that is you, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the space where we take action with the knowledge from books. So part 1, the pain, what we are really living in. The moment you stopped listening, like, let me take you back, you're maybe 16, 17, or whatever age you are, you have this dream, and maybe it is to be a writer or to travel or to start something of your own or to help people in a specific way. You can see it, you can feel it. Then someone older, someone you trust, someone you look up to, looks at you and says, that's not realistic. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a friend, just being practical because they actually want the best for you, right? So to them, you shouldn't be doing what you want to do. This speaks to me on a deep level. And I just had to, to tell myself one day, it's time to take a risk and do what I truly want. I've been holding back, but not anymore. So let me know in the chat if you've ever, you know, if you've ever been in this situation and what did you do about it. And in that moment, something breaks inside you, not dramatically. You don't collapse. You just adjust and you tell yourself, okay, maybe they are right. We talk to ourselves, more often. Maybe I should be more realistic. So you pick the safer path and you like the degree, maybe the degree that makes sense, the job with benefits, the life that other people can understand, and that dream you put it in a box and you tell yourself you will come back to it someday. That is exactly what happens to the crystal merchant in The Alchemist. For those who have read the book, let me know if you've read this book and you actually remember the crystal man. He's the guy Santiago works for in Tangier. He runs a crystal shop and he's good at it. He makes money. He's stable. The crystal merchant always dreamt of going to Mecca. That's his personal legend, his soul's deepest desire. He talks about it. He even has the money saved up, but he never goes. Why? Because he's terrified that if he actually does it, the dream won't be as good as he imagined. So he protects the dream by never pursuing it. He would rather live with the possibility than risk the disappointment. This speaks deeply to me. And that's the trap most of us fall into. We protect our dreams by burying them. We convince ourselves we'll do it later or we'll do it when the right time comes. And when we have more money, when the kids are older, when life, calms down. But actually, life never calms down and later becomes never. There's never a perfect time to start anything. And the cost of the safe life, here's what no one tells you about choosing the safe path. Safety is expensive, not financially, emotionally, or spiritually. You pay for safety with aliveness. You trade the possibility of becoming who you were meant to be for the guarantee of staying who you've always been. And at first, it doesn't feel like a loss. At first, it feels responsible, mature, smart. But then years pass, you're growing older and you start feeling it. A low grade heaviness, a sense that something is missing. You look at your life and think, I should be happy. I have everything I said I wanted. But you're not, because what you have isn't what you wanted. It's what you were told you want. And now you're living in a prison you built with your own hands. In The Alchemist, there is a moment when Santiago is robbed in Tangier. He loses everything, all his money, all his safety, and Coelho writes something critical. He had to choose between thinking of himself as a poor victim of a thief and as an adventurer in quest of his treasure. When I read this line, it really blew my mind, and it literally changed my perspective with regards to life and whatever I'm going through. Just imagine you're robbed and he said he's on an adventure. Wow. And just perspective at every circumstances life throws at you matters a lot. This is the choice we all face every single day. Are you a victim of circumstances, or are you on a quest? What did you choose? Let me know in the chat. Because here is the truth. You can't be both. So now in part 2, the diagnosis, why we are stuck. Why was Santiago stuck? The psychology of self-betrayal. Let's get into the mechanics of why we are here. When you repeatedly ignore your inner voice, your brain does something specific. First, cognitive dissonance. You feel one thing, but you do another. That creates tension, and your brain hates tension. So it resolved it by changing your beliefs. I didn't really want that anyway. That was just a childish dream. This could be things you're telling yourself. I'm being realistic now. This is called rationalization. It's how you protect yourself from the pain of your own choices. That's why most at times, stop allowing your emotions tell you what to do. Force yourself to be disciplined, and with time, your brain and body will get used to it. Secondly, when you repeatedly ignore your inner voice, your brain does something specific. It learns helplessness. This comes from psychology research. When you try something and fail repeatedly, you stop trying. But more than that, you stop believing you can succeed. So when opportunities show up, you don't take them. Not because they are not real, but because you've trained yourself to believe nothing will work. You become your own jailer. So the third thing is identity foreclosure. This is when you lock into a version of yourself too early and never question it. I'm just not creative. I'm not the type of person who takes risks. I'm not smart enough to do that. These aren't truth. They are stories, but you repeat them so many times they become your reality. There is another character in The Alchemist who shows this perfectly well. The Englishman, he obsessed with the alchemy. He reads every book. He knows all the theory. He can explain the philosopher's stone, the ecclesia of life, all of it. But he's never actually done the work. He's always preparing, always studying. And when Santiago, ask him why he doesn't just try, he gets defensive. Because for the Englishman, books are safer than life. Theory is safer than practice. As long as he's preparing, he doesn't have to face the risks of actually failing. So my question for you and myself today is, how many of us are living like the Englishman? How many courses have you bought? How many books have you read? How many podcasts have you consumed? And how much have you actually done? Preparation can be procrastination in disguise. The fear underneath it all. So why do we do this to ourselves? And one word that just comes to my mind is fear. But not just fear of failure. That's too simple. Like, we are afraid of success too. Because success means responsibility. It means visibility. It means people might criticize you. It means you might have to become someone you don't fully recognize yet. And that's terrifying. So, we stay small. To people who don't want to take risks, we stay safe, we stay stuck, and we tell ourselves this wisdom. But it's not wisdom, it's just fear wearing a disguise. In The Alchemist, When Santiago is about to give up and go back to being a shepherd, he meets Melchizedek, the king of Salem. And Melchizedek tells him something crucial. Oh, I can't forget this. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. But then he warns him. People learn early in their lives what is their reason for being, but they also learn early on to ignore it. Why is it so? Because pursuing it is so hard, scary, uncertain, and it's easier to live with regret than risks. So in particular, we will look at the Alchemist from a biblical perspective, and the pattern of departure here, when we zoom out, because this isn't just a modern problem, this is a human problem. Every wisdom tradition, from the Bible to Buddhism to indigenous rites of passages, has the same pattern. Transformation requires leaving the familiar. Even in the Bible, Abraham is 75 years old, settled already, comfortable, and God shows up with an instruction that makes zero sense. To us humans, right? Leave your country, your people, your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. No map, no GPS, no plan. And God says, just go. And Abraham goes. Why does God do this? Because you can't become who you are meant to be while clinging to who you've been. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you are forced to trust something bigger than your fears. And losing your life to find it, Jesus says it even more directly. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life will find it. This isn't about dying. It's about letting go of the false version of yourself. The version that's built on other people's expectations. The version that's playing it safe. The version that's too scared to try. That version has to die. This is what I told myself. Not because it is hard, but because it's too small for who you are becoming. This is exactly what happens to Santiago. He starts as a shepherd. That's his identity. That's his safety. But to find his treasure, he has to stop being a shepherd. He has to risk everything. He has to become someone new. And here's the twist. And here's the twist at the end of the book. The treasure was buried back home the whole time. So the treasure was buried back home the whole time. But Santiago had to make the journey anyway. Why is it so? Why? Because treasure isn't the gold. The treasure is who you become by pursuing it. Like, you don't need the thing you're chasing. You need to become the person capable of finding it. Like, we had omens. Omens are the language of the universe. One of the most beautiful ideas in the Alchemist is that the world speaks to you. Like, Coelho calls them omens. And, Santiago, like, let's take an example when, Santiago was on this journey. He saw a hawk and he interpreted it as a warning. He meets people at exactly the right time. Doors open that shouldn't. Is this mystical? Maybe, but it's also psychological. When you commit to something, like really commit, your brain starts noticing opportunities you were blind to before. It's called the radical activating system. Your brain filters reality based on where you are and where you're going. So when you decide your personal legend matters, you start seeing paths you couldn't see before. The universe isn't conspiring, you are waking up. And in part 4, we now talk on this shift, how you can actually change. And the first point is stop pretending you don't know your personal legend. The biggest lie you tell yourself is, I don't know what I want. Yes, and why did I say yes, you do? You've always known. It's the thing you think about when you're alone, the thing you wish you had time for, the thing you tell yourself you would do someday. The reason you say you don't know isn't because you're confused. It's because if you admit it, sometimes if you admit it, you will have to do something about it, and that could be scary. So here's the first shift. Acknowledge it. Write it down. One sentence. If I wasn't afraid, I would, do this, and that. That's your personal legend. And step 2 is create create space to listen. Santiago spends time in silence, in the desert with the alchemist, and in that silence he learns to hear the language of the world. You need to do the same. Not meditation as a productivity tool, not mindfulness to reduce stress, but actually uncomfortable silence where you sit with yourself and listen, and turn off distraction, turn off podcast, just put your phone down and stop feeling every moment, and ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What will I do if I wasn't afraid? What have I been postponing? Don't rush the answer. Let it come. If you want to learn how to, practice listening to yourself, watch a video I did by Deep Work by Cal Newport. I will link it in the description. So step 3, take the first step, even if it's tiny. In the book, Santiago doesn't immediately cross the desert. He doesn't go straight to the pyramid. He starts small. He sells his sheep. He crosses into Africa. He works at the crystal shop for years. Each step leads to the next. You don't need to have the whole plan. You just need to take the first step. It could be, sending the emails, writing someone, making a phone call, sign up for the class, or, start the blog, the content. Have the conversation with yourself and stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for certainty. Certainty is the enemy of transformation. And step 4, recognize the test. Here's what Coelho shows us through Santiago's journey. Every time you commit to your personal legend, you will be tested. Santiago gets robbed. He almost dies in the desert. He falls in love and considers giving up. He faces tribal wars. Every step forward comes with resistance. And I ask myself, why is it so? Because the universe, or God, or your subconscious, whatever you want to call it, needs to know you are actually serious at this thing you want to achieve. Anyone can say they want something, but do you want it enough to keep going when it gets hard? That's what it's going to take if you actually want it. That's the test. So when obstacles show up, and they will, don't interpret them as signs you are on the wrong path. They are signs you are on the right path. The resistance is proof the stakes are real. So before we move into the final part of this video, pause this video, go grab a pen, a book. You're going to need it. So part 5, which is the 7-day implementation plan. This is where progress actually starts. Here, no more theory. Let's make this as real as possible. 7 days today. Let's go. Day 1, I want you to name your personal legend or purpose. Then write down an action step for that purpose. If I wasn't afraid, I would do this. Like, I, for one, when I was still, uncertain about starting this YouTube channel, I would say, if I wasn't afraid, I want to start a YouTube channel where I break down powerful ideas from books, psychology, and scripture into practical action steps that people can actually live out. So this is my example. So don't overthink it, just edit and just write it down. This is your personal legend, your soul's work. So a reflection question is, what emotions came up when you wrote it? Was it fear, excitement, shame? Just notice the emotions. And day 2 is, find your Melchizedek. In the book, Melchizedek is the person who validates Santiago's dream and gives him the push he needs. And the action here is, reach out to one person who is living a version of the life you want. Send them a message. Ask them one question about their journey. How did you start? What was the hardest part? What advice would you give someone like me? Why this matters? Because isolation kills dreams. Connection fuels them. So for someone who is unable to get your own Melchizedek or mentor, what I would advise you to do is this. When I was growing up, I knew very clearly what I wanted to do with my life. But when I looked around me, there was nobody doing things I felt called to do. So there was this prayer I made. I prayed a simple prayer. I told God, I know this is what I really want to do. I need knowledge. I need wisdom. I need direction. I don't know how to get there, but you are my how. But you are my how. I was willing and I meant those words. It reminds me of something in the book, The Alchemist. The idea that when you truly pursue your personal legend, the universe begins to make provisions for it. And something interesting happened. Within a few years, I had to relocate to another town. There, I met a friend who introduced me to an organization called the Renewed Mind Leaders. When I joined that organization, I began hearing things about personal growth, vision, leadership, and purpose. And that's where a lot of my transformation began. So this is what I want to tell you. Sometimes we think the only way to grow is to meet a great mentor directly. But, even getting access to these great men can be a long process. You may need to meet them, get their contacts, pass through their secretaries, send them a message, and even then you might not get a response immediately. That's why organizations are powerful. If you want to grow, start by searching for an organization around you look within your city or your environment. You can go online and look for communities that talk about leadership, personal development, personal growth. There is a lot of information available today. It's just because we are not searching and asking the right questions. That's where you can begin. Because imagine if I had just stayed where I was, praying, God send me a coach directly. Sometimes, God answers your prayer by placing you in environments where the growth can actually happen. And today, you even have more access than we did before. You have YouTube, you have social media handles. Maybe there is someone you admire online who cannot personally mentor you. That's okay. You can still learn from them. Just start somewhere, learn from what is available, put yourself in the right environment. Growth always begins with a step. Listen to their messages, their podcasts, their YouTube videos. And day 3, identify your crystal merchant moments. Like the crystal merchant had the dream but never pursued it. Action step I want you to take is write it down. Every excuse why you cannot pursue that dream, write it down. Or the legend, I don't have time, I don't have the money, I'm too old, it's too late, people will judge me. Write it down. Whatever reason you think you can't pursue your personal legend. And these are the questions I want you to reflect on. How many of those things are actually true? Ask yourself that. And day 4, audit your life. Santiago had to sell his ship to pursue his dream. What do you need to let go of? The action I want you to take is look at your calendar and your bank statement. Where is your time going? Where is your money going? Ask yourself, do these patterns reflect the person I want to become? Or the person I've been settling for? And warning, this might really be uncomfortable, but do it because truth will always set us free. And day 5, take action. Take the small risks. The action I want you to do is do one thing today that moves your life, even if it's 1% that moves your life closer to your personal legend. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. And an example you can do is, it could be a research, or tell someone what you are actually doing, and you can spend 30 minutes on the thing on the thing you want to do, and set time for it. Say no to something that drains you. And notice this. How does your body feel after you do this? After you do all of this, how do you feel? And day 6, practice radical honesty. And the action I want you to implement is have one conversation where you tell the truth. Not what you think people want to hear. The truth. I don't actually want to do this. I don't actually want to pursue my personal legend. I've been pretending I'm fine, but I'm not. I have a dream I've been too scared to pursue. Why this matters is because authenticity is a muscle and it atrophies from disguise. And the 7 is commit or release. This is the big one I want you to really do. Decide, are you going to pursue it or let it go? If you are pursuing it, name one concrete next step and put it on your calendar with an action step, with a date, with a time. And if you're letting it go, you can write it down on a paper and burn it so you can forget about it. So you can't live in maybe. You have to choose. As we come to an end of this video, because your life isn't a neat story, it's messy, it's complicated. But here is what I know. The voice inside you is real and it's not going away. So before you click off this video, I need I need you to sit with these questions. Don't rush to answer. Just let them sit and reflect and think on them. What would you do if you weren't afraid of what people think? What are you pretending not to know? If you keep living exactly as you are now, same job, same habits, same choices, who will you be in 10 years? And can you live with that? Question 4. What is the cause of your comfort? Question 5. When you are 80 years old, looking back, what will you wish you had done? These aren't rhetorical questions. They are mirrors, and if you are willing to look, they will show you exactly where you've been betraying yourself. Here is what I want you to do right now. Before you scroll to the next thing, write down one thing you are going to do differently this week. Not someday, this week. Then tell someone, comment below, text a friend, say it out loud, make it real, because here is the truth Santiago learned, and the truth you need to hear. The treasure isn't at the end of the journey. The treasure is who you become by taking it. You don't need the gold. You need to become the person capable of finding it. The universe doesn't conspire for the cautious. It conspires for the committed. So what are you going to do? If this teaching hits you, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe if you want more deep breakdown like this, because we are building a community of people who don't just consume content, who actually live it. Peace and blessings. I'll see you in the next one. Now go do your work. Bye.